Hey guys, welcome to this series where we are trying to learn generative AI on free edition of a Databricks. In the first video, we have understood what is generative AI and why it is extremely important now. Let us try and understand the next step of that is, what is an LLM? LLM is a large language model. Let us try and understand what is an LLM. LLM is a neural network trained on billions of sentences, so it learns pattern, language, knowledge, reasoning, and generation. What has happened is, since there is a data explosion, that entire data of the world is converted into tokens and fed to a neural network, and then that neural network is trained on top of that. With the capability of reasoning, it can generate the next possible sentence. That's how LLMs are being built, and therefore there is always this constraint that whenever you are creating an LLM, you need a massive amount of data and management, and then eventually the power that is needed for it. These are couple of companies that has their own language models and being extensively used, starting with OpenAI, which has their own Chat GPT model, then Claude, which is created by a company called Anthropic. Llama is created by Meta. Google has their own model called Gemini, and Databricks has their own LLM model called DBRX. LLM can answer the questions, write explanation, convert natural language, and they can translate the language, analyze the data, summarize document, perform reasoning. They can reason out. So the major difference between the earlier neural networks and this one is, like, it has the capability to reason and then generate the content. They can also act as agent that can call tools. LLM just don't understand like humans. They predict the next most likely word, and that too with a powerful reasoning capability. Now if we want to build some applications out of it, how to build that? So whenever you are in a mode that, okay, you have understood what is Gen AI, you have understood what is LLM, now how to use it. So at that time you will start hearing the word called LangChain. Okay, what is LangChain? LangChain is a framework that help developers build LLM powered applications. So the applications which has LLM as a part of it, for creating such application you need a library called LangChain. It's a Python library called LangChain. It internally has couple of things which help you to develop a LLM application better, or generative AI applications better. What is present inside is like prompt templates. So um, like, just try and understand in a minute. We'll go to prompt. So prompt templates, chains, chat models, agents, memory, all these things can be created with the LangChains. LangChain has internal capability of everything. Okay. On Databricks, what Databricks has done is, Databricks and LangChain might have collaborated or something, and they have created a dedicated library for Databricks called LangChain Databricks, and that library has its own methods. So we can utilize that method on the Databricks internal platform. How to use that, we'll see in a few minutes. Now we're just trying to understand the concept. We understood what is generative AI, what is LLM. If you want to build an application, you need to know what is LangChain, and now we'll try to understand what are prompts. So these models that are created, they interact completely in the natural language. Correct. So to interact with them and to try to get the best output out of them, whatever instructions and inputs are passed, they are called prompts. Technically prompts are the input or instruction we give to a large language model. They act like a conversation starter or commands that shape the model's behavior and reasoning. If an LLM is a skill assistant, prompt is a brief explanation of the task. The cleaner the brief, the smarter the result. Again, I'll give you the same example. Let's say you are in charge of an event. It's not like you will go and do that event by alone, because that event might be a combination of multiple smaller things you do. Correct. Like, you need to stage manage, you need to make food arrangement, you need to make uh, your guest arrangement, and then lighting arrangement. Lot of things you have to ensure. So what you will do is, you will have assistants for that. And how that work is done can be implemented from them depend on how crisply you communicate your message to that person. If you are if you are ambiguous in that message, the work will be ambiguous. So same way, the language by which that work is communicated to the LLM is prompts. As I said, right, the crisp you communicate, the best will be the result. And that's what is meant by prompt engineering. So prompt engineering is the art and science of communicating instruction to an LLM clearly and effectively. Crisp, clearly and effectively communicating instructions are prompt, and the art and science of doing that is prompt engineering. Prompt controls, uh, just a moment, I think I went down. Prompts control task, what LLM can do. Prompts control persona, how it should behave. LLM can Prompts can control format, how the answer should look like. So we may want JSON, we may want text, we may want XML. So all these things can be controlled by providing a better prompt to the LLM. All the variables, constraints, the better is the prompt, better is the output. I mentioned already, right? So the tools we use in Databricks are LangChain prompt template. As I mentioned, LangChain is a library, so it has some component called prompt template. There is a concept called LangChain chat prompt template, in which you can perform like multi-state, multi-shot prompting can be performed. Like you can talk to LLM. We'll see in few minutes. And then we have something called LangChain expression language, which helps you to define like in what sequence that LLM should execute. And then we have something called Chat Databricks, a stable Databricks compatible model, a library that has been created by LangChain dedicatedly for Databricks. Let's take a simple example. So this is our Databricks serverless version. It's a very small compute that has been provided in the free edition, and that is maybe enough for those who are trying to learn the things. So if you try to install all these things on your local machine, there is always this constraint that my this library is not working, my that library is not working. So instead of that, what we can do is I just created a simple notebook in Databricks, and I'm using the freely available compute. And on the freely available compute itself, I'm installing couple of libraries. The libraries include LangChain and LangChain community. And once that LangChain and LangChain community is installed, what simply I'll do is I'll simply start importing the libraries. I'll import LangChain community chat models, and in that there is a, as I mentioned, there is a dedicated module for Databricks, which is called Chat Databricks. We'll use that, and then we will also demonstrate the prompt and chat prompt template. So for that, we'll import that as well. So LangChain community chat models, we can import Chat Databricks, and LangChain core.prompts, we can import prompt template and chat prompt template. Let's try and initialize the Databricks LLM. Now, as I mentioned, Chat Databricks is a dedicated module created for Databricks. What we can simply do is we can, or what it takes as an input is it will take an endpoint, as I mentioned in the last video itself. Um, it's a it's a it's a Databricks hosted version of LLM. Some of the popular LLMs, right from Chat GPT models to Claude to Llama, all the best models are present. Some of their versions are present in the free edition as well, and you can utilize up to certain limit for free. That is good enough for a new learner. So what you can simply do is you can initialize an LLM. So we are initializing the LLM, and once the initial LLM is initialized, what we can do is we can create a simple prompt. We can use prompt template for that, and what we are explaining is explain topic in the simple terms. The topic can be variable. So I just ask is like, can you explain me about the delta lake? So I asked about delta lake. We can even change it to, can you explain the lake house as well? We have understood a prompt template, which is a feature available as a part of LangChain library. Now let us try and use the prompt template with LangChain expression language. Prompt template and LangChain expression language, a combination, means you define a structured prompt with variables, format, and instruction, and then pass it directly to an LLM through something called LangChain expression language. LangChain expression language pipeline. How the pipeline works is like you define the prompt in a fancy way, and then you pass that to your model, and then you use the output parser, and for that you can chain the things together. How it is chained together, we'll see in a simple example. I'm just defining my model again so that if the code is at one place. Now let us try to chain that using LangChain expression language. Okay, so this is an example. I try to combiningly use an example. So what we are actually doing is, uh, we have created a prompt template, and to a prompt template we are passing that prompt template to an LLM, and therefore uh, this way of expressing pipe separated component is also called as LangChain expression language. Chat prompt template is something and different, a variation of prompt template. Now here you can pass like a multiple chat, multiple instructions together. So for example, system is saying you are an expert in you are an expert data engineering instructor, whereas human is saying explain the topic using an analogy. So it is creating like a chat. It's not like simple one shot instruction, it's a chat that has been created. Chat prompt template is then being passed to your model, LLM model, using something called LECL, LangChain expression language. So this way, uh, we have understood two topics here: what is chat prompt template, and we also understood what is a LangChain expression language called LECL. Within a chat prompt template, this is an example where we are using multiple variable. So for example, here in this chat prompt template you can see that you are a helpful tutor, but a topic is a variable here and difficulty level is a variable here. So when we invoke this chain, so we create a chain called chat prompt template, and then we pass it on to the LLM. We can invoke the chain. The moment we invoke the chain, we need to ensure that all the variables are being supplied. So for example, there is a variable called topic, we passed it as Apache Spark, and then there is a variable called level, for that we pass it as beginner. And therefore these can be the these concepts can be put together, where we use LangChain expression language and also pass the variables to a chat prompt template. The purpose of showing all these multiple things, first of all I shown you prompt template, and then how to use LangChain expression language like this, and then we understood what is chat prompt template, is that you get a variations of how the different how in different ways these systems can be used. There are certain best practices when you do prompt engineering. First of all, when you are defining the role and behavior, you should use system prompt. You should be explicit in your requirement. As I mentioned, you should be crisp when you are mentioning that point. We need to explain it uh, in a very specific bulleted way if possible. Provide the structure. Providing a structure is anytime better, because in this way generative AI or LLM model are all about learning the pattern. So if you give them a structure, it is they understand it in a better way. We can use examples. So for example, there is something called zero shot prompting, in which we just give one example, right? And then there is something called multi shot, where we explain it well. Okay, so therefore the factor of correlation will come into picture. Okay, and then do not give too much of information from all the sides, because that is going to make your instructions more ambiguous. So you need to be very short in this, short and sweet in this description. These are a couple of best practices we should follow. Prompt engineering is not something that we can sit down and teach like 1,000 prompt. It's not like that. It's a practice that you need to uh, bring it in yourself. Prompt engineer. Okay. Just taking one example finally is of a few shot prompting. We'll see this in detail, but just for now you can understand that we have used chat prompt template because we are going to send multiple instructions to the LLM, and then we created a variable out of it. That variable or that information we passed on to an LLM object. We created a chain using LangChain expression language, and then we invoked. Once we invoke that with the right set of variables being passed, you will get the output. In summary, in this entire video, what we have understood is what is an LLM, what is LangChain, what is prompt engineering, and then how we use the chat prompt template we have understood, how we use the LangChain expression language we can use we have understood, and how the chat Databricks like chaining, how to use chat Databricks using LangChain we have understood. We have also understood some of the best practices. So next video what we are going to understand is the advanced prompt engineering, how advanced prompt engineering is being performed, so that you can simulate like structured outputs, parsing, multi-step reasoning, some in-depth analysis. So for that, what kind of prompt engineering is needed, that we'll try to understand in the next video.